there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com, here with a little bit of an update video. As you might have seen, my channel, I've been inactive for the last 2 weeks. Received a lot of messages, some people having some concern messages about where I've been, if I'm okay and whatnot. Little bit of a short story. I'm fine. I've just been on vacation. Much needed vacation. As you can see, Chloe here, and we're Scout. There's Scout. My sister's dogs have been visiting me as well, so we've been going on adventures. Just got back from a beautiful place called Pagosa Springs in Colorado, and then have been on a little bit of trip with my puppies, and so that's where I've been. But we'll be going back to the regular schedule, have some spoilers that I'd like to talk about. Oh, I love this set so far. Eldritch Moon has some really sweet little brew around cards, and then I also we'll be getting back to the swing of things with the F&M Prime or the F&M Spotlights as well as the Rogue Markets. But that comes to the topic of this video, which is going to be kind of the future of the Rogue Market episode. As many of you may know, if you're savvy with the news, especially Magic the Gathering news and kind of the finance aspect of it, we've had a lot of new channels pop up lately about investing in Magic the Gathering cards. We've had a lot of even new websites that have popped up, and then recently finance has been brought to the spotlight due to two issues. One is a guy that came out and said, I'm behind the reserve list buyouts, and then a post by Martin Shkreli himself saying that he is trying to dip his foot in the water. A lot of us think he might just be trolling the Magic the Gathering community, but he's going to be trying to invest in Magic the Gathering cards. So I just want to talk about my history with the Rogue Market. I've had some kind of accusations come my way, especially some comments I've had to delete on the YouTube channel, basically calling me out on my own market advice and speculation and how I'm part of the problem. And I'm going to vehemently disagree with that because people just don't understand markets, and kind of tell you my history of how I got involved in Magic the Gathering finance and speculation, and why I am such a small timer. You should not have to worry about anything I say, because my speculation in market basically doesn't even come close to paying for the amount that I spend on Magic the Gathering. My Stony Silence speculation, where I bought over 250 copies of Stony Silence, is long gone, and that paid for like a good 6 months of MTGO addiction. You guys have no idea how much it costs to be a Rogue Deck builder, a Rogue Deck brewer. Even with the sponsorships, even with the savvy investing, it's still probably, yeah, it's net down in how much I actually spend on Magic the Gathering, building the slew of different decks to keep up the videos with Gathering Magic in my own channel. Bring a new deck every week gets very expensive, especially in Modern. My Modern collection is obscenely expensive. Yes, it is an asset that I can later on sell, but yeah. Anyway, so let me just talk about my history, how I got involved in the Rogue Market, and why I do the videos. First of all, I have had some bad things happen to me, and it was only through smart investments that I was able to recover. And second of all, I've always been extremely interested in markets. Let's go back to before really Magic the Gathering. I mean, Magic the Gathering came before this particular game, but it was really this game that got me excited to kind of try to figure out the markets, try to make smart investments, and try to maximize the amount of capital I can get out of a short period of time on these virtual markets, I would call them, or secondary markets like Magic the Gathering. So lo and behold, a few years back, my brother and I started playing a game called World of Warcraft. As many of you did, I think at the height of World of Warcraft, there's like 15 million active subscribers. I played World of Warcraft during the first expansion. I got on at the very, very end of vanilla World of Warcraft, and I played it through Wrath of the Lich King. So I predominantly, I play video games. I'm a very competitive player with video games. When I was younger, my whole aspirations in life, in fact, I wrote a college paper on professional gaming. This is long before, I think it was the first person that ever made over $100,000 in gaming. His name was Gurr. I think his name, I can't remember, he was from Canada, and he was a professional StarCraft player, and he was the first one to ever net over $100,000 in professional gaming. And he really inspired me to try to go pro, or at least try to see where it could take me. And I was quite obsessive with actually going professional in StarCraft 1. StarCraft 1, I got to what I call the semi-professional level. I cashed in some local tournaments, actually cashed in some online tournaments, and was part of a pretty decent team that played against some of the bigger teams that still exist. If you notice, my username on MTGO is still VCR Avalanche, which was my tag name on StarCraft, which was VCR standing for Very Crappy Rookies. And again, we were decent. I think all of us had cashed in some tournaments, and that's about as far as we got. Again, gaming was not huge 15 years ago when I was playing StarCraft 1. So anyway, ended up leaving the dream of StarCraft 1, going to college. Went to college for graphic design the first time, and then went back. I think I actually went for pre-law the first time. I dropped out of college so many times. That's another story for another day. But so I left kind of the gaming world to try to become an adult. And then I kind of came back to it as just a way of an escape with games like Dota, and then onto World of Warcraft. And World of Warcraft, predominantly, we just liked to run battlegrounds at the time. And so I had this little clan that we played in these battlegrounds. And I remember, though, one of the things that was really, really good for these battlegrounds, especially for Warsong Gulch, was your epic mount. And I think at the time it cost 500 gold to buy your epic mount. And that was like a phenomenal amount to save up for. We're talking about grind. First, it was a huge grind to get to level 60 on World of Warcraft, and then it was a huge grind to get to by doing just quests and other things, farming is what we called it, to get that epic mount. I believe it ended up costing 600 to get your epic mount. And so I just thought there has to be another way. There's got to be a better way than just grind. And that's when I started getting into the auction house and really started to see that patch days were like auction house frenzies on certain goods in the auction house, especially when they make a new recipe for the different classes. Then people would need a ton of like Mage Weave. Mage Weave is the first thing I made a killing on. A lot of this might not transcend, like you might not understand what I'm talking about if you've never played the game. Mage Weave was a particular cloth that you used in a profession called tailoring, that you could tailor some things and whatnot. And I also started to find some discrepancies in the market. Like after the first expansion, you were able to turn stuff into... there was items you could turn into dust that were used for enchantments. Again, this is going to not make sense to a lot of people, but anyone that has played the game can kind of follow. And I'd figure out that, hey, this item, you could buy it for 10 gold and disenchant it for 15 gold. Or at the time you could buy it for 10 gold, disenchant it for 7 gold, but on patch days you could sell the materials for 35 gold. And so it was all about just learning market trends and just following the data, following the patch notes, and just noticing that there was this real stable and predictable market. And that's where I went full-fledged on World of Warcraft. So I gave up. I think I played an arena up to arena season 2, arena season 3, and then I just got tired of Blizzard's inability to balance the game and got frustrated with it because there'd be one class would be, or one class would be completely overpowered and they nerf it, and then it just feels like all this time was wasted. And it was just, I got sick of the actual playing of the game World of Warcraft, but I was still just obsessed with the market. And I have some a little bit notorious for what I did to my server. At one point on the Alliance side, we were outnumbered 8-1, and I controlled the Alliance auction house completely. I remember one person came up to me and kind of like sneered at me, saying that he was going to buy from this person instead of me because I just controlled the market. And I laughed at them and said, that's my alternate account. That's my other guy. And so you still were buying from me. At one point, I think that my account, when I quit World of Warcraft, I cold turkeyed it because I have the most embarrassing story about World of Warcraft I think you'll ever hear. So if you're ever like worried about having a bad relationship or embarrassing story about a breakup story, I've got you beat. My ex ended up cheating on me with a guy she met on World of Warcraft. Actually flew out to Ohio to cheat on me with him. And so that's what got me to finally cold turkey the game. And it was one of those things that actually I got sick of my ex actually nag because I used to play video games. So I actually bought her a computer and we started playing it. It was our thing for a while. and then she got completely obsessive with it and ended up, yeah, it's a story for another day. But ended up cold turkeying. I think when I cold turkeyed my World of Warcraft account, it was worth between like $5,000 and $10,000 on the gold alone on the account, just because of how savvy I'd got into being able to work the auction house. And a lot of people accused me back then of manipulating the market. And I don't think that people really understand that terminology of manipulating the market. Speculating is not quite manipulating. Like, some of these buyouts are complete manipulation when they create like a demand that isn't there. But a lot of times, like, speculators like myself that would buy up certain goods early on and then sell them, we were actually stabilizing the markets. If people like I didn't exist in my server in World of Warcraft, you'd see even bigger swings. So you would see times when a certain goods or service would be worth nothing, and then times it'd be worth like insane amount of money. And it would just be varying on the supply and demand. A person that actually parks their money in certain speculations is actually making a more stable trajectory than if you just let the market kind of run amok without doing so. So a lot of times the speculators and people that invest in the market get a bad rap, and I think it's unjustified because people just don't understand supply and demand and market swings and how that actually has a stabilizing effect by people that buy out a certain card, and then we do see that huge spike, but eventually that it is way more of a stabilizing effect. So you got to think, for some of your cards actually having value, having any value at all, you actually do have to thank some speculators because they're stabilizing that price. So anyway, after I cold turkeyed World of Warcraft, I went through a transition where I cold turkeyed all gaming, and I got obsessed with psychology and bodybuilding and gave off gaming. And then one day I just decided, I was driving home from the gym and I saw a store, Epic Puzzles Games Salt Lake City, little tiny shop at the time, and stopped in, and that's where I got re-addicted to Magic the Gathering. And then it was quite an expensive hobby. I was also riddled with debt. I'm going to make a video. People wanted me to do like a draw my life type thing. I think I'll do a video talking more personal, like personal stories about my life. But I've talked about this term a lot, or my relationship a lot, because it was a pivotal time period in my life that actually, still to this day, I'm still, the repercussions from this relationship are still very, very real. I still have not even tried another relationship after it because it was just so heart-wrenching and so just tasking, just draining physically, emotionally, and financially. But one of the things that my ex had a condition called borderline personality disorder. It takes just a quick Google search to see how much havoc a person with borderline can reap on those around them. And I was one of those hopelessly romantic people that like to stay with people after all the crap that they pull on you. And I was probably in about $30,000 in debt after the borderline relationship, just because of hospital visits, just debt we had to take in on paying her rent. She went through 9 jobs in 2 years, getting fired from every one of them. And just me basically taking care of another human being for 3 years, and not just another human being, but a very demanding human being. And it was just put me into a ton of debt. So I was paying off debt as well as working full time, and didn't really have a lot of expendable money to pay on Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering is an insanely expensive hobby. So I started actually investing in, I noticed my World of Warcraft history actually helped me notice market trends, and I was able to make a killing off of rotation days. One of my best speculations ever was Hellrider that I bought in at 50 cents and sold them all at $8 a piece. And it really, really catapulted my collection up into, I think that I had, my collection was easily worth over $10,000 after the time that the second huge, horrible, awful time in my life happened. So anyway, I'm still in the midst of, I think it's a year or so after recovering from my horrible relationship. I had this dog. His name was Koopa, and he was what I considered my divorce dog. And me and that dog went everywhere together. We had this kind of bond because I like to say we were both abandoned by the same girl. It was her dog, and she just left him with me. She didn't even care to take her dog back. And so I went everywhere, did everything with it. Everyone used to joke that the dog was more like my spouse than my dog because I spoiled the dog rotten. I wouldn't go on vacation without my dog. I wouldn't go anywhere without my Koopa Troopa. So Koopa ended up getting cancer, and we it was going to take about $800 to for the surgery, the X-rays. I think I was already in $800. $800 I didn't have because, mind you, I was still recovering from this $30,000 in debt that my ex had racked up, and I had unwisely put on my debt. Rather, don't even get me started. I was a stupid, in love person that didn't realize the risk of being involved with a very toxic person. But anyway, so I was trying to come up with the money because Koopa Troopa was the most important thing in my life. And I'd gathered up all of my magic cards and I'd had them in the back seat of my car. And I was going around to all different vendors. But before I was going to go to vendors, I had to take Koopa to the vet. And it was so hot. I believe it was like May-ish when this happened. And it was hot outside, so I'd rolled down the window for Koopa to stick his head out of the window when we went to the vet. And it was just one of those times where emotionally, when you're emotionally charged, you get very forgetful. And we got out of the vet office, and then I went home, parked in my driveway, and I left the window cracked. And I'd forgotten about it, locked my doors, and then ended up just leaving the cards in my car, which of course is a big no-no. I hate victim blaming. Victim blaming is so stupid. Yes, if I wouldn't have left my cards in my car, this wouldn't have happened, but it still took a person to actively seek out, to walk in my driveway, to notice that there was a window slightly rolled down, to reach in my window, to unlock the doors, and to steal the backpacks. It took a person to victimize me for this to happen. They stole all of my cards. So about $10,000 worth of magic cards completely stolen. And I was devastated because I didn't know how I was going to pay for the surgery or pay for my expenses on the dog. Luckily for me, my family did step in and they completely took me under their wing because at that point, I had just given up on life. Well, then anyway, what ended up happening is we go through the surgery. They remove a piece of Koopa's colon, and they determined that it is not malignant. It was just a growth that was actually blocking his digestive system. And so my dog was like starving to death is what was happening, and he was expecting to make a full recovery. And with surgeries, there's just a risk, and my dog ended up dying. I think it was a day later, ended up dying of like a blood clot or something. I never got an autopsy or anything like that, but the dog ended up passing away. And I was devastated because I felt that up until this point in life, like I'd put all of my good intentions in this girl. I thought that we could break the odds. When she was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, I thought I was going to be the 0.5% that overcomes it. No one recovers from borderline. It doesn't happen. People that say they do, I disagree. But anyway, that's a rotten egg for another day. But anyway, and then I'd tried to build up this magic collection, this hobby of mine, and it got stolen from me. The dog got cancer, and I thought I was going to overcome it, and died. And I gave up on life. Completely gave up on life as a complete depressed shell of a person. And luckily my family stepped in and helped me out through that horrible time in my life. And I decided that I was going to quit Magic forever because why try to start back on a collection when you've had $10,000 ripped out from under you? But I was able to be convinced to, I believe, get back into the Avacyn Restored. I think actually when my friends actually paid for it, for me to come play in the Avacyn Restored pre-release. And I opened up a Restoration Angel, which I was able to trade off quite quickly for, I think, like $10. And was able to draft with the Restoration Angel, I think. And so I just started to say, okay, I'll just draft. I'll just start playing. But then a friend convinced me to play a standard, and I'm like, okay, I'll just buy this Birthing Pod pre-constructed deck. And I won FNM, and FNM at the time was a Lingering Souls, and was able to trade that off for more cards. Lingering Souls promo was going for like $12 a time. I think I traded for like an Elish Norn. And pretty soon I had this kind of cool little pod deck. And was winning a lot of FNMs with, I think I won all 4 of the FNMs for that month and won 4 Lingering Souls promos. And then eventually I got back into Magic the Gathering, but it was through like speculation that I was able to do so. So now 20 minutes into this, that's what I'm going to talk about, how Magic the Gathering Finance has been something that has been vital to the success of this channel and to success as me as a person, as a Magic the Gathering player, and why I am a little upset with the rest of the world now with this Martin Shkreli, or even with this other guy that is buying all the reserve lists out, like these high class like these people that have a lot of capital to invest in. I have been a small time trader. My rogue markets have been geared at people who, and this isn't, I get a lot of criticism for my rogue market videos saying, well, good luck trying to turn those into profit because you get killed with eBay fees, you'll get killed with PayPal fees, you'll get killed. Usually my rogue market videos are directed right at people that are looking to trade, not to sell. So you get into Stony Silences at when they're bulk rares, you have people throw them in and you trade them off for a $10 card. And you just keep doing that and doing that and doing that. Like the Devastating Summon spec. I bought into a ton of them at like 30 cents. Yes, I paid actual money for them. Now they're worth $1.50 and I've already traded off a bunch of them at $1.50. And same with other cards that I've more recently done with those. And so that was trade value. So I basically spent 30 cents for $1.50 worth of trade value. And that's a smart thing for managing collections. I'm not one to advocate that Magic the Gathering should be an investment for your retirement fund. If that's your cup of tea, go for it. That's not my rogue market videos. So for the future of the rogue market videos, that's just my mission statement that I want to get out there. I'm not a huge investor. Like these other people that are trying to pack them away. I don't have a closet full of Mirage booster boxes, for example. I do own a local game store now, but we just barely make the ends meet. And it's basically the whole local game store is just for us to have a place to play. Because first and foremost, I'm a Magic player, and I want to play Magic and whatnot. And that's exactly why I speculate. It's exactly why I try to be savvy with my trades and savvy with managing my collections. And that's why I do these videos to advise other people to follow suit. That Magic the Gathering does not need to cost you an arm and a leg. If you're smart about it, you can get that epic mount in World of Warcraft without grind, which is what so many people would end up like resorting to buying gold in World of Warcraft back in the day because it was so insanely hard to grind out that epic mount. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out there. And now on to part 2 of this video is kind of talk about why I'm not too worried about Martin Shkreli and these other people that have now come out saying they are big-time investors in Magic the Gathering. People like this have existed for a long time. In fact, the biggest culprits of the price buyouts and price swings have been the big vendors like Star City Games, for example. Just a little bit of insight. I've traveled with GatheringMagic.com, who is represented by CoolStuffInc.com, and I'm not going to give you the number, but it is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they actually bring to Grand Prix to buy cards, not to sell cards. They do not make money. You do not make money at Grand Prix. It is a buying spree, not a selling spree. And so vendors, by far, to keep their stock and their inventory, are the biggest investors in Magic the Gathering card. They've been caught red-handed, especially Star City Games, of jacking up the price of fetch lands first to $15 to $35, and then from $35 to $75 on Scalding Tarns. They were the biggest buyout in Magic history, which is the Tarmogoyf buyout, was done in my presence. An agent of Star City Games went around to all the vendors at Modern Masters 1 in Vegas and offered $100 cash for every Tarmogoyf opened, and at the release of Modern Masters, Tarmogoyf actually jumped up in value because of Star City Games making basically an investment on the Tarmogoyfs, a long-term investment on Tarmogoyfs. So I think that these huge investors are just going to be another player. I'm not too worried about them because things like SCG already do exist and have existed. People are saying, well, these people don't even care about Magic the Gathering. Again, these people have already existed. There have been some vendors that have been accused of basically money laundering through Magic the Gathering. Some of them actually have some pretty harsh allegations, some pretty serious allegations that people have said about drug money being then funneled into Magic the Gathering. And even if you funnel drug money into Magic the Gathering cards and sell at a loss, that's still money laundering 101. You're taking $750,000 dirty dollars and turning it into $600,000 of clean money, and that's how you get around all this thing. So the one thing that I'm worried about, people like the Martin Shkreli and these other big time investment, is when is this going to be regulated? When is it going to be where I'm going to have to start? I mean, technically, anything you buy and sell, you should be writing down on taxes. Like, you should be taxed for that. But such at a small scale, I mean, even a trade for a trade, honestly should be taxed. Like you can't trade a car for another car and not expect to be taxed on that transaction. Bartering is not legal in the United States as far as just a trade for a trade. If whenever anything of value is exchanged hand, the government wants its little piece. So that's the one thing that I'm deathly afraid of, is if the government decides that they're going to start trying to regulate and just these kind of like hobbies, which is will just be ridiculous. It'll just be a headache for the small timers like myself or like you that just have a collection and are just trying to wisely manage your collection. So that's the one thing that coming out of this that does kind of scare me. But I'm all for. I do not fear investors. Again, investors usually have a more stabilizing presence on the market than they do a catastrophic presence. A lot of people can go back to the comic book crisis. The comic book crisis actually was like threefold. It was hysteria of investors coming into the comic book industry because they were such a great investment and buying up all the copies. And then that was like sin number one, is trying to think that they can regulate a market that is unregulated, meaning that the company can print. And I think that the comic book industry was a little bit short-sighted too, because like, oh wow, look at all this demand. We can just keep making investors buy our product. And so they overprinted a bunch of these. Baseball cards did the exact same thing. Overprinted just way too much product, and then it just crashed the market and made everything worthless because it was so common. So it's really in Wizards' ballpark here, how they're going to deal with the reserve list, how they're going to deal with these buyouts. I just think that maybe we should just let the reserve list die. Just let that whole format die. Have another vintage/legacy that all the people with the deep pockets can play, and then give us this eternal format that does not have the reserve list in it. I've got a lot of hate from people saying, hey, legacy is so good with the reserve list, you'll kill legacy if you take away the reserve list. Okay, a new format will come up, and there will be cool decks and cool interactions and new cool things to do. You'll still have your legacy. That's have a format that is unattainable. I can't play Legacy. I don't have the money for it. I have other things I'd rather spend my money into than dropping like $2,000-$3,000, which is soon going to be $5,000-$6,000 with all these new investors coming in and buying up the reserve list cards to play Legacy. I'm not going to do it. So if I do want to play older formats, either Wizards is going to have to give me an older format, or I'm just not going to touch it, and we're just going to be stuck with Modern, which I'm actually okay with, because I think between Commander, Standard, and Modern, my plate is already full. There's just tons of content that I can produce. There's tons of things I can do in Modern, Standard, etc., etc., etc. So, I don't know. It's just a really, really fine line that Wizards has to dance. And I don't know, what is the point of this whole video? I just want to kind of give you a history of what the kind of the future of the rogue market. I'm still going to do it. I haven't gone anywhere on this channel. Still plan on releasing some good content. I have some spoiler videos. This is a time, summer is, I am a summer boy, completely. I am in love with summers, hate winters, and when the sun's out, I love to go out with the dogs, I love to go fishing, I love to go hiking, and Magic just kind of takes a backseat. So I hope you kind of stick with me. As you might know, the channel's been completely rebranded. Greg has just done an amazing job, and picked up some other people that have done some phenomenal job with the Rogue Deck Builder brand, and I still can continue to go down that route. We're still collaborating. You can notice we collaborate with DRMCCG. I want to collaborate with Cybin Lore. There's still some other great people that I still need to do some collaborations with, and I still want to involve the rest of the community in with the whole Rogue deck building and brewing. We're going to start doing some contests here with revitalizing the Rogue Master Brewer and some other things. You may notice I've been doing some things with Travis Wu as well. And so that's all in the future. Just give me some time to enjoy my summer, and I'll be right back at it. But if you missed two of the Rogue deck build or Rogue Market episodes in the past 2 weeks, it's because I've been on vacation. I haven't gone anywhere. I am not too terrified of these new investors, these new buyout people. It's just another distraction. I think that Standard and Modern still have plenty of room to be savvy with. You just need to check top 8 deck lists a lot. Really think of the implications of rotation and what cards could be good, and just park your money, or park your trade value is actually what I like to call it, in a no-brainer savvy investment, and you'll do fine. And again, there's nothing wrong. Do not let anyone deter you you're not a Martin Shkreli. You're not a person that is negatively impacting the market by being a small time trader just to try to manage your collection. So keep doing it. Keep watching the videos. Hopefully, I've been given some good advice. We're going to start doing some recap for the rogue markets. I really want to bring up, I deleted a comment thread of some, I think part of the comment still exists, of this guy, my Archangel Thune spec, or not spec. I told everyone to sell Archangel Thune after the Pro Tour because it's just going to go down. And this guy had some very, very strong words against me, saying he hopes everyone watches my videos so that everyone can lose a ton of money because I'm an idiot. And now I just like to show him the statistics that everything that we called was pretty well spot on with those rogue market videos. And a lot of them actually, the ones I said to invest in, have gone up quite well, if not at least stabilized. So your money's actually stayed strong with cards like Eldrazi Displacer. They haven't gone down like some of these other cards that were overhyped. But anyway, we've been 30 minutes on this video. Long rant. Hopefully you get a little bit of my background. Just wanted to do another vlog. I know a lot of you aren't interested in these type of things, but we'll just call it now. It's been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.